I think we went live, Nelta.
We're live now. So
Yay! We have liftoff.
we have liftoff. Yes, we do.
So the pilot Nelta Chadamoyo today is driving us to the Mars. She's our what do we call them? The pilot and the co-pilot. Who's the co-pilot here?
I'm the one with the
Mm,
headphones.
okay.
Oh my
So you are
goodness.
the pilot, I
So
guess.
so 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 girls, it's great to see you again this evening. What I also believe is in Ireland, it's evening, even though we are some 2 or 1 hour in front of you guys. But it's great again. It's our Saturday time to grind it together in this relationship live coaching on Facebook and on YouTube. So those who are watching on Facebook, it's live on Dreamers Club Bahrain, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can check for Melody Chadamoyo and you can find the YouTube. You can also subscribe to it to watch these and many other videos that are already streamed there live with Melody. You know, been steering us to give us to understand what it all means to be in a healthy relationship. So tonight, this morning, or this afternoon, from wherever you're watching, we are going to talk about benefits of forgiving your partner or forgiveness in relationship, and I'll be asking these two ladies, and I'll be trying also to give my side of opinion, what it means to forgive, why you should forgive, how you should forgive, where you should forgive, and the importance of doing all the why, how, which, where, when in terms of forgiveness. So let me introduce my panelists today. So beautiful young ladies over there. I'll start with my left, that's Nelta. Let's introduce you, Nelta, to our audience tonight.
So I'm Nelta Chidamoyo. I am a writer, an amateur actor, I also scripts for the theater, and I'm an energy healer as well. Thanks for having me.
It's great having you here, Nelta. Thanks for joining us all the way from Ireland. I have another beautiful lady also on my right, Melody Damoyo. Okay, maybe you just introduce yourself. Let's know who's this beautiful, smiling like a queen over there.
Thanks, John. You make me laugh. Hi, my name is Melody Chadamoyo. I am a relationship expert coach. I help people heal from past pain so they can have amazing, wonderful, healthy relationships that will give them the best life that they can live. And I'm also a speaker and author, an actor, and so many other things. I'm a researcher as well, and lately I will be talking a lot about my research because I'm embarking on a long journey of researching in the line of relationships, but it specialized line. But we'll talk about that sometime later, maybe next time. Today, we want to talk about the importance of or the benefits of forgiving your partner. And John, yeah,
Yes.
on.
Wow. So that was quite a very elaborate introduction of yourselves. These two ladies, these are my sisters from Zimbabwe, currently living in Ireland, having both citizenship of Zimbabwe and Ireland. So I don't know whether to call you Irish or to call you. How do we call as is it Zimbabwean or Zimbabwe? How do you call somebody from Zimbabwe?
For
Irish
non-Zimbabwean,
Zimbabwean.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
If we are
Irish
not from
Zimbabwean.
Zimbabwe, if we are not from Zimbabwe, we are Zimbabwean. If we are in Zimbabwe, we're something else. But so we'll say Zimbabwean.
Oh wow! So
Yeah.
great to know that. That was so difficult to pronounce. You know, ours is very easy. You just say Kenya from Kenya. You know,
Mm.
Yes.
so girls, it's a very beautiful time to have you again in this panelist to just steer people towards what it takes to be in a relationship. It's been a long journey doing these things together. Nelta joining in as a healer as well, and also as a partner. We've known each other with Nelta. It's been a while, almost 4 years now, if I'm not
Mm.
wrong. Then Nelta introduced me to Melody, and we have really, really done so great. Melody impacting me, mentoring me, coaching me, training me to becoming what I have been in terms of relationship and all that life things. So, Melody, I'll start by you because you are our boss here tonight. Uh, Let us get the definition, the exact definition that it means to forgive. You know, people talk about forgiveness, Melody. And I'm one person who believes in forgiveness and also believes in punishment that, you know, accompanies forgiveness because people just talk about forgiveness. But do you think when you forgive, you don't punish?
Whoa. I, I don't believe in punishment. I don't believe in
Okay.
punishment per se, but having said that, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that when you say I forgive you, you are
Mm-hmm.
saying I am releasing the anger, the frustration, the pain of this incident that happened to me. That's what I consider to be forgiveness. And
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked up the definition of forgiveness, but to me, that's what it means. It does not mean that I allow you to get away with whatever it is that you did. So maybe that's the believing in punishment part. So if you crash my car and maybe
Mm-hmm.
I get injured, I will still take you to court and all that, but I'll forgive you for the accident because you probably didn't intentionally mean to harm me, even if you did. But it's good for me to let go of that whole, oh my God, this person is a bad person, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe people do bad things, but I don't believe people are bad people. So, in relationships, most of us have this tendency of thinking when people do bad things,
Mm-hmm.
then it means they are bad people. When actually people take actions with the best knowledge that they have and the best capacity they have to make a decision or a
Mm-hmm.
choice.
Mm-hmm.
The problems start when we enable people to treat us whatever way they want to treat us. Because in most cases, let's give an example. You have a boyfriend or a husband and they cheat on you, and you
Mm-hmm.
choose to say, we are not going to talk about it. Because what most people do is they say, I forgive you. But they don't talk about the what caused this? Why did this happen? How do we make sure this doesn't happen again? What happens usually is a person will run away from home, go to their mom's house or sister's house or friend's house for a couple of days, maybe a week if they're really, really, really upset. And then the husband will come and beg them to come home, and then they'll come home, and that's it. That's the end of the
Mm-hmm.
incident. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a solution to a problem. When a person has done something that has upset you, you need to talk about why you feel upset, how painful it is for you, and what's going to happen next. And that person has to commit to ensure that you are not going to feel like that again. And that commitment is binding. If they ever deviate from that commitment, then that's the end of the relationship. And you need, as a person with values and morals and ethics, need to stick by that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't stick by that, you are enabling. You are saying it's okay for you to treat me like this, when actually it's not. So that's why it's like forgiveness is very, it's interesting in that you can't just say, I forgive you, and that's the end.
Mm-hmm.
The person who has done the wrong needs to be the one who wants the forgiveness and that seek the forgiveness and that are working towards getting the forgiveness. Not you just saying, yeah, you did this. I'm such a good Christian. I'm going to forgive you, because it doesn't work.
Thank you, Melody. Very brilliantly said, and I also believe, and I totally agree with you. And I'm noting down something that I will talk about. I was thinking that maybe you'll leave it, but you have also tackled it. What brings forgiveness? You know, you've explained to us what you understand by the word forgiveness or forgiving, but then how does it come? that is so important, and people miss that space. Where does forgiveness start from? Does it start from the people who've been wronged, or it start from the people who have wronged us? So let me get Nelta's opinion on what she believes is all about forgiveness.
Uh, for me, forgiveness is uh letting go of
Mm-hmm.
the I like I'm going to copy one that I've had, letting go of the idea that the past would have been different or should have been different,
Mm-hmm.
and allowing yourself to accept what has happened
Mm-hmm.
and not carry that as a mantle to maybe badmouth people or punish them. Because in honest truth, most of the people we get angry at don't know 99% of the time we're carrying this anger at them. So it's self-punishment to not forgive. So it's like you have poison eating at you over something. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll have poison in me over something John did, and Johnny has no idea. Or maybe sometimes it doesn't matter whether a person comes to you and asks for forgiveness or not.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to forgive. What then need to be worked at in terms for forgiveness to work both ways is amends. It's like a person comes to you and asks for forgiveness as a step for them to work with you to mend the relationship. So whether they come to you and ask for forgiveness or not, you can still forgive them. It's the forgiving the relationship that requires both of you to be active participants, which is when you have to talk about it, you have to iron out what happens. And a lot of the times I find most people have a hard time forgiving because I would you would someone would come to me and say, Nelta, you did this to me, and I'll say, what did I mean to do? I was just making you a cup of coffee. I didn't mean to burn you or to
Mm-hmm.
use up your electricity. And they're like, but you're not owning up to the fact that he caused me pain. And that's where most of us get caught in the forgiving and not forgiving part, that the other person is not owning the pain. Or if you want to make amends, if you have wronged, you have to own up the fact that your intention doesn't matter. You just own the fact that I hate you, I caused you pain, whether it was intentional or not. I need to just own up to the fact that I caused you pain.
Wow,
Mm.
that's wisdom, Nalta, and I believe that the two definitions of forgiving and how you guys have tried to explain it or expound it is well put, and I couldn't have put it better than you guys have put it. But now let me get to a point where which I wanted to drive home, and Nelta is kinda Melody, Nelta is kinda not with us, because Nelta is saying that it's not a must somebody ask for it. You just got to forgive. But now let's look at it in two ways: the offender and the person who've been offended. You see, there is forgiveness here coming from somebody, and there's somebody who's receiving that forgiveness. So there are two people here. In the eyes of each of us, or both of us, we have either forgiven ourselves, or we forgive each other, and or maybe we remain with the grudges. But then what does the value of whatever gives us the foundation, which is the Christianity, says about forgiving, is like, God is a forgiving Father. He forgives every time, right?
Mm.
Are we together? But
Yeah.
then I have a question for you, Nelton. Does God forgive those who don't confess their sins?
Yeah, because God is love. And loving you means it doesn't matter what you do. And we cannot equate God to a human being because God is an energetic force. That's I can't compare myself to God, and I can't forgive at that level. None of us are capable of that because we have no
It's
concept of what God
it's true. It's true. It's
can do.
true. But maybe I just want to drive my point this way. We are told that we have to confess our sins to be forgiven. So
Okay,
from
so
this
so what?
from this foundation, I don't mean that we can forgive to a level of God, because for God, He forgives and He forget. But for us, we will forgive you today, and tomorrow when you come and you do the same thing, we will tell you, but you just did it yesterday. Why are you
Hold
doing it
on.
again today?
Okay,
Hold
Hmm.
on.
okay. Can I finish with John?
Yeah.
What I wanted to say was that, like,
Hmm.
the reason why I'm saying forgiving is, I'm not saying if someone
Hmm.
does you wrong, you say I forgive you, and
Hmm.
then you go and have coffee with them and you start hanging out like nothing happened, and this is you self-sacrificing yourself to look good. No, that's not what
Hmm.
I'm talking about. I am
Hmm.
talking about that's why I say there's forgiveness and then there's making amends to fixing the relationship.
The internal, you
There's
forgive,
yeah,
and yeah, you release yourself.
exactly. But the mending of a relationship is a whole other step that needs to be worked at outside of the forgiveness. Because you could forgive someone and not necessarily get back to being friends again. And you can forgive someone and get back together. So
Wow.
don't if you're a self-loving person, you don't keep putting yourself in a person's space who's always harming you so that you feel like I'm a good Christian because I forgive. That's
Mm-hmm.
just a lot of
Hmm.
BS. And that's like a
Wow.
messiah, what you call it, syndrome that you need to heal.
Hi, Mary Wangui. Thank you so much for joining us.
that sounds
As
that
you can
sounds
see,
so
the
great.
conversation is hotting up already.
Yeah, so the best thing with this conversation, where it's getting now, is what I've always been wanting to have, because we have a debate where we have to disagree here to agree, because if we will always be agreeing, we won't have a debate. So we've got to
No.
make it, so Melody, I'm coming to the next thing. We have defined forgiveness. I asked a question with the definition of forgiveness, that do you have to punish, or does punishment accompany forgiveness? And then Melody said no, but Nelta didn't touch about it. So I want to ask Nelta separately, do you think forgiveness go hand in hand with punishment per se?
Okay. Here is the thing. You're forgiving someone you haven't yet forgiven them.
Hmm.
That's what, because if you're forgiven someone, you've let go,
Hmm.
you like I'm going back to the conversation you and Melody have had, John, about
Hmm.
self-loving. Meaning, if
Hmm.
I am full of love, what I put out is love. So you will not squeeze the lemon and find grape juice. So if you have forgiven someone and then you meet them and you wreak the wrath of God on, or the devil, right, on them, that means you haven't forgiven them. You need to work on that. So whether it's because they've forgiven you, punishing a person means you haven't forgiven that person.
Hold on. Thank you so much. So I want to bring this debate into lively more discussion. So now I want to agree with both of you that when you forgive, you don't punish. But I want to ask you something. If I was in love with Melody, and I've done something to Melody that, Melody feels like, the best thing that I can do is to forgive him and then leave this relationship. Don't you think Melody is punishing me in some way, even though she has forgiven me?
No. Why do you think you're being punished? I mean, so here's the thing. If I feel like you have done something that I can't live with, because the
Yeah.
the premise of the equation is I
Mm-hmm.
love myself first
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And in loving myself first, sometimes I will meet people who will say they love me, but their actions don't show that they love me. And
Mm-hmm.
this I would say, for example, I would not forgive, well, I would forgive a person, but I would not
Mm-hmm.
allow a person who disrespects me, who treats me poorly, who abuses me emotionally, physically, and otherwise in my life. I would not do that, even though I will forgive them and let them go, but I won't let them into my life. If you make a mistake, say I lend you my car and you go, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, the sun is just beamed. And, and I lend you my car and you go and you crash it, right? And you come and say, Melody, I've crashed your car and yada, yada, yada. And I can forgive you for that. You didn't intentionally want to cause me financial ruin. I can forgive you for that. But if you go behind my back and you do something that's going to cause me business harm, reputation harm, or
Mm-hmm.
emotional harm, then
Mm-hmm.
I will lovingly let you go out of my life, because I love myself enough to not need that kind of hassle in my life.
Whereas for me, I'd say if the say the taking of the car and you crash the car, and I can't handle being around you in order to forgive you. The best thing for both of us is for me to step away. Because if seeing you is causing agitation, I need to go where I don't carry that agitation. So there was no intention to cause me harm, but in order
Mm-hmm.
for me to release and be forgiving, we might need some time up. If you are in a relationship, it might mean a divorce, but it doesn't mean later on in life when things have settled, you can't remarry.
I know couples that have remarried each other at
After
least 5 times. Like,
Yeah,
seriously, I know couples that have divorced and remarried each other, divorced and remarried. So
that's
it's it's
sad.
it's
can
very
can I
possible.
can I get such a lady so we can be going for an off time?
I think they
No.
didn't have Melody as their coach because the reason probably, yeah.
Oh my goodness. So.
We also have Nana, no,
Mm-hmm.
no, Namakula,
Mm-hmm.
in the house. Thank you for
Wow,
joining us.
that's
And
that's great. I
And
know
we have
Nana.
Ruth
Nana is a
Clancy.
very
Hi,
good friend
Ruth.
of mine called Nashki. Nashki, that's Nana. So guys, let me just now turn to something else. We are agreeing that it's never punishment. From you, the person who's forgiving, you should not have a mind. As long as you've released it from your heart, it's done. So whether they take it as a punishment is not, because what I was thinking is, we are in love or we are married, and then I do some mistakes, and then you feel like I can't keep up with this, and then you leave. Basically, this man or woman that you're leaving is gonna get a heartbreak. She's gonna be lonely. She's gonna feel awkward, which is, to me, I feel is a punishment, even though you don't intend to punish them. Your intention is not to punish them, but in reality, you are punishing them because your absence creates an agony, creates something like, they will be missing because they did not, they messed up, they did all the mistakes, but they didn't expect that you can leave, right?
But John,
well,
John,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
you
Yes,
can't be
Nelta.
with a person. You can't be with a person because you're saying, I don't want them to have suffer a heartbreak while you are living in pain yourself for
Yeah,
for being with them.
yeah,
You
but
see, it's
I
dead now.
my point was not to defend the person who's being left, but the question was simply that, do you think when you people forgive, punishment also might accompany it? That was
a
the question.
person,
It
yeah,
wasn't like you should. Mm,
a person who is taking responsibility,
mm,
who was evolved enough to take responsibility for their actions and their words and everything, will understand that this needs to happen. If in fact that person is seeing it as a punishment, then
mm.
they are not taking responsibility.
Hmm.
They
Wow.
want the other person to allow them to continue as
To do
is.
the shit
What? Yes,
as
exactly.
they've been
Yeah,
on the same shit.
they want this person to take their crap and also, live with the suffering of that, which isn't not taking responsibility. They're putting everything in the other person to make themselves feel good. And those
And
are
it,
people are called narcissists in the modern
Hmm.
world.
and also they are also taking being forgiven as their right. Like
Yeah, which is
Yes.
they're
an
entitled.
Yes.
entitlement.
Hmm.
They're
Yeah, which is
entitled to forgiveness. No.
which is also a narcissistic behavior as well. So we can't allow such people to take control of our lives.
I love you both, and really, you've made me to understand that, and it has also expounded me to understand how to handle this. Because for me, for sure, I was feeling on the other side, like you're punishing them, kind of that. But now let's get to why we should forgive. We have seen what it means to forgive, but now, why should I forgive somebody? Like, you see, you Melody used a car. I give you my car, and it's in good shape, and you go driving. Maybe you drink. and you drive while drunk and you hit it somewhere, and now the insurance is telling me that, you know what, John, your car is written off, and because it was carelessness, we can't replace it and we can't do anything. So,
Mm.
as a Christian, let me put that. John's gonna have a big head to forgive. Melody, I want you to explain to me, why should I forgive such kind of a person?
Because, and this is very important, because there's a lot of research that's been done that
Mm.
shows that when you carry negative emotions in your body, you start to develop things like hypertension, heart disease, sometimes stroke. You cause harm to your actions. It's not just carrying negative emotions, it's also talking
Mm-hmm.
about negative things. Like there's the research that was done with water, that if you put water in a glass and you start saying, I hate you, whatever, whatever, the crystals of the water change
Yeah.
to misshaped. So I want you to imagine if it's just water in a glass. What we are, 75% water? So whenever you are thinking negatively and saying negative things and angry all the time, you get sick. Cancer is actually considered one of those emotional diseases caused by a lot of negative, emotions. Stress causes, and anger and whatever causes stress, which is causes illness. The best thing you can do for your health, your mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health, is to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's beneficial to forgive. And when you do, you actually feel a weight off your shoulders. You feel like, whew, you are free. Because and it's two ways too. You feel the freedom of them, the energy of that stuff getting off you. But the other very
Mm-hmm.
important reason is they stop living rent free in your head. And this is so important. We allow people to live rent free in our heads because we spend so much time talking about them, thinking about them. The energy, you could be creating something massive, major. Maybe we wouldn't even have this whole global warming problem if people spent time thinking about how to solve that problem instead of thinking, John cheated on me, John cheated on me. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. A beautiful one over there, Melody. I love that. I love why we should forgive. It's a piece of the soul, and just like you said, and this quote that you say, I remember I was hosting Rahila Khan, and she told me the same thing. And I went googling, and I got a very nice picture about the water crystal. That kind of what we call it. There's one guy, I think maybe he's a German, or I don't know from where this guy was, that was talking about the water and the crystal. When you speak
Japanese.
negative, Japanese, yes.
Yeah.
When you speak negative, it will turn something else. When you speak
Mm.
positive, it will be clear. So,
Mm.
Nalta, on the other side, let me get your opinion on why you should forgive.
So for me, it's like we need to understand forgiveness is a process, because usually what happens is most of us look at what the other person has done and not necessarily look at what has been triggered in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to get into a place where we also forgive ourselves for, like, usually I'm angry at, I allowed him into my life and this is what she did, or I've been very good to her and she went and did this. And forgive ourselves for even having that person in our life, because obviously the intention was not to cause myself harm. So it starts
Mm-hmm.
with forgiving myself, then I can hand over what I've already given myself. So the gifts you can give are the only gifts you have for yourself. Very important thing is, like, you have also expounded on the fact that we are mostly liquid, and we need to be aware of the fact that most of us is water, and you're talking about crystals, and the fact that the water, like looking at a Microsoft, it was so dirty that it was diseased water. If you drank it, it made you sick. It came from the two glasses came from the same jar. You're so
Mm-hmm.
loving, you're beautiful, you're whatever, and it was the best water you could drink. And understanding the fact that everything comes from a place of self-love. And we need to understand that forgiveness, we need to take the steps within ourselves, then we can extend it to the next person. And then there's the fact that you you don't give forgiveness as a gift to another person, because even if I say I forgive you, they need to walk the path of self-forgiving, or accepting the forgiveness, or owning to the fact that I caused this person hurt. So it's yeah, it's forgiveness is simple and complicated. It requires a lot from us and of us, but mostly it requires us to go into a path of self-love and reflecting, and yeah, and seeing where we are at each moment when we feel things. Like I'm sure there are some things that when you look back at, you say that was stupid to hold on to because it was so trivial, but you are mature enough to see that because you didn't have the maturity to see it then.
You guys is so wise. You know, you guys are speaking words of wisdom, and I guess I hope people are learning just the same way I do. Now, I want to drift a little bit to get deep into relationship here, to get the real meaning of the topic that we are doing today: benefits of forgiving your partner. So, you know, we have talked about forgiveness itself. We have talked about why we should forgive. We have talked about how you should forgive. Did we? So now I want to ask, you know, when you are in a relationship, a lot of things go on. People look at relationships on social media, colorful one, you know, people flashing so many things, diamond, jewels, birthday presents, a lot of colorful things on social media. And we always admire and would wish to be like other couples are on social media. But then something happens. You just find from nowhere these couples who've been flashing things and, you know, living a very happy life as you thought, they get in a very heated debate and throwing the dirty linen of each other on social media, and you're like, oh, what happened? So these people have been, you know, queens and kings of each other for so many years. What just happened? But reality comes back to us that what you feel with your partner is what every other partner or every other couple feel with their partners. But when you refrain yourself, when you have a heart that forgives, when you have a heart that, you know, understands, respects, listens, then you might not even flash it on social media, that you could find a room to flash it between the two of you. So, Melody, I want to ask you what it takes to have a benefiting forgiveness in a relationship. You see, there's sometimes we forgive to show off. Sometimes we just forgive because the people we are forgiving are the source of our income. They are the source of maybe our flashy life. So we cannot go anywhere. We just have to forgive them. You know, you just have a man who's just cheating and you can do nothing. He cheats, you find him, you don't have any choice rather than to forgive him. You have a woman who's, you know, moving here and there with young men and, you know, sleeping over, but you can do nothing because she's got everything that you need. So what do you think about this, Melody? Is this kind of a forgiveness that you think is peaceful?
Um, I want to first say hi, Marian Montanda. How are you? We love you too. Thank you for joining us. And oh, your question is very loaded, John, because I don't even know where to start. Um, so
Can I repeat again?
I
no,
can
no,
start if
no.
you want.
Yeah, you start, Nelta, and
Yeah,
I'll
Nelta,
yeah.
sorry, you know, I'm always going to Melody because my tongue is always this melody.
Hey,
Melody.
I
she's
am the relationship expert, so it's
she's
okay.
she's the, yeah, she's the older sister to both of us. Hi to Ruth, my colleague there, Ruth
Mhm,
Clancy. She's joining us. I just want to say, like, for a lot of people, yes, their finances are tied into a person that walking away is not always possible. But doesn't mean they are
mhm,
staying because they're forgiven. It just means they are going to put up with that. So there are two things: you forgive or you put up with walking away, or you forgive and then you mend fences. So in this case, they are opting to, okay, I will sit, I will just sit on this because my
mhm,
my my dependent my life depends on it for some people. And then there are some who say my lifestyle, because for them the most important thing for them at that time is the lifestyle. And in my mind, you need to ask yourself, for those that have an
Mm-hmm.
option to walk away, is it really worth it to live in a poisonous state of being? Because the other person is not feeling the pain you're carrying. Let's remember that. You are carrying this pain. They have no clue their life is going on, they are enjoying life, and you're just carrying this thing that this person is
Mm-hmm.
not probably not even aware of, because you want to stay in a cushioned life being provided for by this person, which if that's how you started, that's not a relationship to begin with. That's, I don't know what to call that. It's something twisted and sad, unless maybe you are so stuck that that's the only option you have. But if that's the only option you are giving yourself when you have choices,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you need to work on that, which is a whole other story we're not getting into. But at the end of it all, when it comes down to forgiveness, it is either you forgive or you don't. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
just stay with them because, but I'll forgive them because
Yeah.
I can't go. That's that. No, either you're forgiven them or you haven't.
Wow. So, Melody, I guess you heard what Nelta has talked about, and I think it's she's given us a very great kind of peace. Like, you see, you just don't have to be there because it's a source of your income, it's a source of your food, it's a source of your pleasure. But forgiveness is all about the peacefulness of your mind and yourself. It's not about the other person. In fact, it's about yourself first. So, let's get your take, Melody, on this.
Yeah, and before I do that,
Mm-hmm.
there's
Jalua, Jalua.
Jalua. Okay, he's saying, I don't know whether it's a she or he, getting you loud and clear from Kenya, I think. Forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and then they say, I think forgiveness is good, but we have some to forgive, but some you can't. And I want to talk about the social media aspect that you spoke about. I
Mm-hmm.
know so many of us are good at showing off.
Mm-hmm.
It's cleaning it up and shining it out and making people see that we have the best
It's
relationships ever. I don't know where that came from, but here's what I know for sure: people
mm,
who have time to spend their energy on social media, their
mhm.
relationship on social media, don't have time for each other. Because like, we are all busy people. We have jobs, we have children, we have families and stuff. We have church, we have other activities that we do with our lives. If you have time to be posting on social media all the time, talking about your relationship, you probably don't have time to focus on each other, which means you already have issues, right? A person like me, who is a relationship expert, who works on relationships, knows about relationships all the time, still has to work on relationships. Because
Mhm.
while I talk about it, when I'm doing this right now, I'm not working on my relationship. I'm just saying things I know, right? I need to go and look at my man and say, "Hi, how are you? What's going on with you? How are you feeling today?" And sometimes he might even say, that hour you spent talking to John, you are taking time away from me. We need to negotiate that and say, okay, so how can I make this up? Most of us don't. Yeah, Wi-Fi issues again. Most of us don't do that with each other. We tend to just pretend that what I'm seeing is what's happening inside a person's head. We carry a
Mm.
lot between our ears. And if you don't take the time to find out what's going on between the ears, which is communication, which is another subject we need to talk about at some point, we don't get to know what's really going on. Even the stuff that you're not responsible for, like things that are happening at work and things that are happening on the way to work and from work and all that, affect your relationship. And those things need to be talked about, dealt with, because in the long run they become resentments. Because if I come to you and all
Mhm.
the time you're on your phone, I don't have time. I don't feel like I'm important enough in your life that you are going to prioritize me. I'll give it as an example,
Mm.
which when I think about it now, I feel like I'm such a horrible person. But at the time, I didn't see it like that. So when we first arrived in Ireland, I didn't know anybody except my husband. And my husband, went straight into doing his PhD, which takes a lot of time, right? And he was learning new systems, learning new things, learning everything. And on top of that, we had discovered we're expecting a child. So, being a responsible man, he got a job. And when he got a job, that also meant that I was home alone even longer. And you would get home at 10 p.m. every day after leaving the house around 8 a.m. And I would have been alone the whole day. And when he came home, I expected him to be listening to me, talking to me, one, updating me about what's going on in the world, two, listening to me whinge about how horrible it was that I was staying home alone, and how I was missing my mother, and how I was missing Zimbabwe, and how I was missing, and then he would ignore me, and I started resenting him for that. And then sometimes he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't respond in a way I wanted, because I wanted him to say, oh, it's so bad, babe, but it will be fun. And he wouldn't say that because maybe he didn't have it in him to say it at the time. And I'll be like, so what do you think? You think, like in my head, I'll be like, what are you doing? Why are you ignoring me? And why are you not saying what I need you to say? And, but he was also struggling with the same issues I was struggling with. It was also a new culture. It was also, everything was new to him. And he was going through that. So he didn't have it in him to give me what I needed. I didn't have it in me to understand that. So I blamed all my misery on him.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, okay, hang on a minute, we are both suffering here. What can we do to find help? Maybe I should have looked at finding coaching, or finding, those days there wasn't relationship coaching as such, or finding some kind of help from someone, just to say, this will pass. It's just a temporary thing. That would have been helpful to me, because sometimes that's what happens if you're out there doing stuff. I don't understand why one of the biggest complaints celebrities have is that, celebrities, meaning musicians, actors, whatever, where is that they cannot have their fights with their spouse in private, because everybody's always watching them. But we as a public have put ourselves, we intentionally go out there to say, I want all my stuff to be done in public. When you see other people saying you cannot fight in public because your ego of the persona you have put out there to say, this is me, will take over so much that you cannot then take your relationship and understand that this thing that you have between the two of you, the sacred space, need both of your attention and protection in order for it to survive. You say, how dare you talk to me like that? Who do you think you are? Because it's public, the public are going to cheer you on, and that will destroy your relationship.
And the worst part is the public. The public sometimes they cheer you on because you're entertaining, not because what you're doing is actually good for you. But they're like when during lockdown, we were bored. a lot of
It is,
a lot of
Nelta.
reality stuff
Mm,
went out there. And
mm,
on top of that, I was just thinking when you're talking social media that I remember I used to see this couple, they still post their videos now, like their
mm,
photographs and stuff. But you
mm.
see, they sell fashion. So they are not necessarily sharing their relationship. They are posing to sell fashion so
Sharing
they
their
can sell clothes.
business.
So don't assume you know what people's intentions are when they are putting their stuff out there unless you in the relationship.
Yeah.
This takes me to two scenarios back in my country in Kenya, and I want to explain to people, those who are still watching here, and I want to explain to them why. Even myself, I don't share my relationship on social media. You can scroll my Facebook from top to end, you'll never see it. You
Mm.
might think that I'm single, I don't date, I don't have anyone in my life, but I don't.
I'm
Because
the
see,
same.
there's
Same
this, there's
here.
this there's this thing in Kenya that's right now is happening, and a lot of people are falling for it. Celebrities have realized that TVs are now not advertising, radio stations are not advertising.
Mm.
Companies are using celebrities to advertise. So how do they attract more followers and more viewers so that they can get gigs, they can get contracts with these companies? They fake stories. You just
Mm.
find a male celebrity and a female celebrity coming together, and then they come up with something like You impregnated me. You should be responsible for my baby
Mm.
because I'm 6 months pregnant of him, but he's denying responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes viral and people really love it. And you see, this is influencing other people who are genuinely in relationship, but they don't know what's going on, to
Mm.
also copy the same trend and come on social media, flashing out their simple life, which has got also even no single cent that people need to know. You've got nothing. You're not a celebrity. Nobody knows you. Why you want to come, I've been dating him, he's a shit, or he's a that. It doesn't help.
No.
No,
I'm telling you, it happens.
and and what you're saying right now is Hollywood has been using that for so long now, and even up to today, you find that musicians, actors, or public figures, every time
Mm.
a scandal comes up, or a weird one, if you look around and see what's going on, I'm not going to mention
There's
names because
something
I
cooking.
don't want us to end up being sued. I know one big celebrity who every time her partner is being taken to court because they have a case of sexual abuse, she put out something crazy and everyone spends their time talking about the crazy and not the fact that she's in a relationship with with an abuser. So we need to pay attention to the fact that a lot of these things are diversions for the real truth of what's going on. And we most of the time, especially with celebrities' life, so when their names are being talked about, people who are creating stories are thinking, "Oh yeah, we need to do that film. This celebrity there would suit exactly what we're looking for," and everyone is talking
Mm.
about them because everyone is ticking mom numbers, and it becomes about marketing, not necessarily about ethics and values.
It's a
It
game.
doesn't.
It's
It
a
doesn't. They
game
don't care. They
of
don't.
yeah.
They don't even care about whatever it is it's causing on the public, because they're doing business. And after all, for
Yeah,
me, I don't blame them, because I look at my country right now. Recently there was a very viral story going on about one comedian and side chick. We call them side chick, a girlfriend, that is. And another lady, another lady just comes up and claims that, I'm having his baby, I'm expecting a baby with him. And then the girlfriend also comes up and claims that, he's not taking care of his baby, and blah blah. And then 5 days after, this guy starts advertising pampers, baby pampers. You getting the story
Wow.
how they do it?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to,
yeah.
I
So
want to ask
everybody's
I
mm,
want to ask you a question. I know this has nothing to do
yeah,
this. So what's the opposite of a side chick? You brought this up. If you have an
side cock.
opposite, then don't use it.
Gotcha.
I'm so
I would say while you're laughing, hi Eunice, Dan Michael. We are so glad you're here. Thanks for greeting us and stuff. Yes, as you can see, we're
so
still yeah
so
Yeah.
you see
going.
you see
We
this.
wanted to learn that if you are going to use side chick, use the other word for the opposite. If you are not using both at the same time, drop one. Drop it.
Or
Okay,
drop
I'll
both.
tell them. I'll go to a national TV station and I'll tell all the men in Kenya to drop the side
Yeah.
to talk, and
Yeah.
then we can. So anyway, back to our story. You see,
Yeah.
this guy advertises baby pampers, and at that time, the story is still beaming and is still going viral.
Mm.
The same day he advertises these baby pampers, they release a song with a lady who was claiming that is carrying his child. And then the girlfriend who's having his baby reconciles with him. So
Yeah.
the
Of course.
fans, those who are talking ill about it, those who are, oh, this guy, you're left like, what's happening? But you are on
Yeah.
their page, and that's what they want. They want numbers. They want to drive numbers to whatever they're advertising.
That's why
Mm.
if a couple is fighting, you never get
Mm.
involved because when they fix their situation, you don't get the opportunity to go and fix it with the other person. You get left holding the rotten egg and you don't know what to do with them.
Let me tell you something, Nelta. Today morning, I was laughing because girls were so much into this thing, and They were really sympathizing with the girlfriend who was claiming that the baby is not being taken care of. You know what the lady told girls today this morning in her
Mm.
social media? Leave my life alone at peace and mind your own business. Those who are sympathizing with her, she's now telling them that you should concentrate so much in your life, not other people's lives. So
Mm. So
anyway,
it's the same thing when you go into forgiveness. It's like
mm,
we have seen, say, spouses who one is a public figure and they cheat and the wife forgives them, and people are saying, why would you forgive and whatnot? But we are not in the relationship. We don't
mm,
know the ins and outs of everything that happens. We only have small
exactly.
glimpses of what's going on. It could be a the person cheated, but the reasons for staying and the reasons for forgiving are not the same thing. Forgiving, like I
Yeah.
said, you forgive someone, your decision to stay is a separate entity. You can forgive and walk away, forgive and stay. But
Mm,
intentionally, like, but I would say to anyone who is in the space where they need to forgive, stay for yourself, not for the other person. And stay for reasons that add value to your life rather than you're diminished because you are wholly dependent on them and you are not even making attempts to separate yourself from that person or from that situation. Unless you're really stuck and it's like it's a very desperate situation, I'd say if it's something worth forgiving and staying for, you have,
mm-hmm.
this is not going to be a repeat like a broken record where it's always ongoing and then it stops being forgiveness. It just becomes a habit. This is now your relationship. This is how you are defining your relationship. Could be your partner, it could be even people, your friends, your family. Like they do the exact same things all the time and they are forgiving the exact same thing and they are still on repeat every single moment.
That is called the
Wow.
Messiah syndrome. We have it. We have it. Like I've heard people saying, they're always treating me bad and I'm always forgiving them because, I'm
Mm-hmm.
such a forgiving. No, you're not. You're a doormat. You're not such a
Yeah.
forgiving person. You are a
Yeah.
doormat. You need to accept
Yeah.
that about yourself. You know, and 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 when we say forgiving, when a person is being forgiven and they are the ones seeking forgiveness, they really need to do the work to show that they are they've
They need.
stopped
They
they have
deserve. They
stopped
deserve.
whatever it is that they were doing or what they did. You
And they
cannot,
end the forgiveness.
yeah, and you should never ask, you should never say sorry for something you're going to do again.
Yeah.
Don't
Wow.
apologize.
That's powerful,
Don't.
Melody. That's powerful.
Yeah, because
And don't
a lot of,
apologize if you don't think you did anything wrong either.
yeah, exactly, don't. But if
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah.
justified that you went
Mm-hmm.
out of your bedroom to another bed, just say, you know what, babe, I decided we're going to be polyamorous now, and this is great for me. I feel good about myself, so I'm not going to. Don't apologize because you just wanted to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Then, when she decides to do whatever it is that she decides with that information, you shouldn't take that as a punishment. You should take it as freedom to do whatever you want to do with your life. Let's not always make each other feel like we you own another person. Nobody owns anybody. Everybody has got a right to be with a person or not to be with a person. And if you decide that your values, money is more important than you, that's okay. That's your choice. But remember that that's your value. You are less important than money. And a lot of people live that life. When you were saying, you are being looked after by someone who has more money and you like that, and that's okay. But you have to understand and agree with yourself
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm.
the value you have given yourself is okay with you.
Yeah.
Don't pass the back on to this person. Don't send resentment to this person because you allow that person to treat you the way they treat you because you think it's okay.
Mm. Yeah. And you
Powerful,
teach
both of
people
you.
how to treat you. You teach
Yeah.
people how to treat you
Oh,
by
wow.
how you
Yeah.
treat
That
yourself
one.
and what you allow them to do to you.
Mm, mm, mm. I agree with you, Nelta, on that. And, guys, it's been a very wonderful conversation that has taken us more than 1 hour. But I have 1 minute for each of us to just give a parting shot on forgiveness. What I want us to talk about as we give the parting shot is when and where do you forgive? For example, if something happens, when do you forgive it? And where do you forgive? Do you need to have a witness? you need to, trust each other, that, when I forgive, I'm trusting that, I don't need somebody to come in. Like, there's some people that when there's a fight, they run to their mothers, they run to their parents, they run to their friends, and like, go and talk to John. John, I don't know. You have to talk to him. You have to talk to her. Mom, I can't be in this marriage anymore unless somebody talks to my husband. So when should we do it, and where? Don't laugh, please.
Well, I'm
Netta, let's
laughing.
go.
If you need your mother to work on your relationship, then it's desperate for on you to do it on your behalf. But anyway,
Hmm.
when and where to forgive, I think you decide and
Hmm.
take your time. Take your time to get there. um but while you're taking the time to get there, don't let it eat you up, the circumstances. Look at that and figure out what it is you want to do, and come off it from a place of self love. And like, I'm speaking at this as a healer. I would encourage everyone that we are all light beings, and parts of us sometimes get blocked when we are not happy, when we are angry, when we are sad. It affects how we create. It affects how we connect with our guidance. It affects how we connect with our work, how we produce. It even affects the food we cook. So, and how it tastes when it lands on the plate. So I would say it's very important to pay attention to when someone does something that hurts you. Some things are very minor. It's like someone steps on your toe and say, I'm sorry. Say, ah, fine, it's forgiven. It wasn't intentional, because they were passing by and they just. And then there's something that are so big that you need to take time to sit down with them, have conversations with that person in between, and then figure out, when you're ready to forgive, you forgive. So go at it when you're ready. But in the meantime, don't let it consume you.
Thank you, Nelta. I really agree with you, Melody.
I think the amount of energy you spend thinking about the harm and the hurt that you have
Hmm.
that has been done to you is, you need to pay attention to that, because it's so important to understand where you're wasting time. The one thing we don't have in on this earth is time. It's finite, it's limited, and we have a job to do. You need to spend that time doing the job you came here to do, not spending time thinking John did this, John did this, John did this. Because when you're doing that, you are not focusing on doing what you need to be doing. So look after yourself, coming from a space of self love. I always say this: love yourself first, and then look at what is the best way to show yourself love. And if it's forgiveness, do the forgiveness work, forgive that person. And even if they don't want to be forgiven, or they you want them in your life but they don't fit in your life, it's okay. You will find other people. There are 7 billion people in the world. You will find other people who are your tribe, who love you the way you are, who accept you the way you are, without any of this other stuff, without having to compromise any of your values for anybody.
Yeah.
Such a loving conversation here. Thank you, my coach and my mentor, Melody Chadamoyo. And thank you, my sister, the healer, Nelta Chadamoyo, all the way from Ireland. It's been a pleasure having you here this evening. And our audience, Nashki has been there, Ruth, I saw Esther, I saw Jenny, I saw, they've gone.
Eunice,
Where are these? I saw Eunice,
Eunice,
Coletta.
Nanan, yeah, so
Yeah,
many.
so it's been great having you guys at the panel, and I hope to see you again after 2 weeks at the same place, same time, grinding it. I saw Melody teasing me with a topic that we'll have next week. Melody, can you tease me with that topic again? There's a topic
Ah,
there that we are supposed to be having next
communication.
in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, communication, the importance of communication and how to
So
communicate.
yes. So next, after 2 weeks, we'll be discussing how to communicate in a relationship and the importance of it. So exactly 1 hour, we have done it, Melody. It's great having you here. Thank you for coming. Thanks for those who watched the video. If you missed it, you can go and watch it on YouTube. Melody Chadamoy is the name of the YouTube channel. And be blessed.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Nelta.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Cheers.
Melody.
Bye bye.
everybody. We really
Goodbye.
appreciate you.
Yeah.
Bye.